Hello everyone, welcome to Food, Culture, and Communication. Today we'll explore how culture shapes the way we plan events, serve food, and connect through hospitality. Joining me today are Annie, a seasoned chef and catering business owner, and Mara, a corporate communications professional who often hosts global events. Hello ladies.
Hello, how are you, Luis?
I'm doing good. How are you two doing today?
Great.
Doing well, thank you very much. It's nice to see both of you this morning.
Nice to see the both of you as well. So to understand how culture impacts communication, we turn to Hofstede's cultural dimensions theory, which was developed in the 1970s through IBM research. It helps explain how people from different societies think, communicate, and work. So Hofstede created a chart with 6 cultural dimensions. The first one being power distance, which is comfort with hierarchy and authority. Second, individualism versus collectivism, which looks at valuing personal achievement or group harmony. Third, masculinity versus femininity, which is competition versus cooperation. Fourth, uncertainty avoidance, which is tolerance for risk and ambiguity. Fifth, long-term versus short-term orientation, planning ahead versus immediate results. And sixth and final, indulgence versus restraint, freedom to enjoy life versus self-control. So, Mara and Annie, how do you see these 6 cultural dimensions in your job roles, your everyday duties?
Oh, very much relevant, Luis. So, in global events management, communication is everything. Public relations isn't just about messaging, it's about building relationships. On my end, from the client's end, I just not have to make sure how culture relates to the entirety of the event, details of how formal to make it, how to address guests, what are their appropriate titles, even how seating reflects hierarchy. But I was very, very intrigued, Luis, when you mentioned long-term versus short-term. This is very relevant. Planning is very essential in my job. It reduces anxiety and, it was, I guess, the tolerance dimension that also applies to my scope of work. I need to consider not just table settings, but cultural requirements. For example, some cultures can't eat pork, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Hofstede's model really helps you plan with cultural awareness, and it helps you understand why some groups would prefer more detailed instructions versus how others value flexibility.
Well, in catering, culture shows up everywhere. So, for instance, if I am catering a corporate luncheon, if I'm doing an American-based company, then we're sending them box lunches because, Americans are going to grab and go. Opposed to the Asian companies who are a little more refined. They like to be served on platters where it's more of a family style, right? So it's more collectivist and opposed to the individualistic. I like the way that Asians approach their meals, right? It's respectful, it's calm, it's centered and focused. But I've also noticed the power distance, where the formal events, the executives are served first, and especially in the cultural type events. So I recently did an event where it was Polynesian, and in the Polynesian world, you have your Tongans and Samoans, and they have their elders table, and their elders are always served by the younger generation. It's just understanding those cues, right? To make the guests feel seen and respected from all angles.
That's intercultural communication in action, food as a language of connection. So when planning for events, if you don't take culture in mind, it could really set you up for success or failure.
Definitely, yeah. And especially, Luis, when I work with management, I value clarity and flexibility. She just mentioned her understanding about how these cultures work, and she has a very good grasp of how these things work. And so that is very important for me when engaging with a partner. Communication builds trust, across different cultures and expectations, and I see that she has a very good understanding of that. But in my part too, I cannot just rely on her because not all of events management companies have the same foresight as Annie here. So I have to prepare and plan still. I have to have a very comprehensive brief outlining what is expected of the event, who's who needs to be served first, and that helps her. People like Annie who lead this events management organization.
And I really need to adapt my tone depending on the client to their needs. And again, culture comes into play there too, because there are some cultures where the groom is responsible for everything. I know that firsthand because my son married into a Persian family, and their cultural beliefs are the groom takes care of everything in the groom's family.
And she brings out a good point of what you mentioned, Louise, femininity versus masculinity. In her example of the wedding, she has to adopt and adjust, right?
Yeah.
Because most of the time it's brides running the show, but in her case, with this
It
one,
was a groom,
it
right?
was a groom.
Yes,
So
yeah.
she adapted
And
and
it was our
adjusted.
family.
So adapting is very important.
Yes,
exactly, yes.
That's what communications scholars call competence, being culturally adaptable in both tone and timing. What are some tips you would give to potential clients who are looking to work with the both of you? What would you tell them to bring to that initial meeting?
I ask about any cultural expectations early because we want to start from the get-go. I'm scheduled to go to Lake Como in May. A bride from here is going there. She's an American bride getting married in Italy. So just imagine what I need to have an understanding of in the Italian world of weddings, right?
Yeah.
So I'm already working on that. You know, what are their expectations, especially when we're coming from America to there. We have to really have an understanding, right? So
Sometimes you take a mixed approach.
yes, yeah. So I don't assume anything. And speaking of mixed approaches, that's when two different cultures are coming together. A good example is when a Jewish family marries into a Catholic family, and we've had that, and we have a rabbi and a priest at the same time. And that's a lot of communicating just within the families, right?
Yes.
And coming to terms. And there's a lot of give and take in that path, walking to that altar. So yeah, I just don't assume. And I would highly say that to anyone, you know, go in respecting, understanding that you don't really know much. And this is, do your research, ask a lot of questions, listen.
So for me, you know, what will help her, I need to share with her what my demographics are for her to better understand. And like what I mentioned, planning, making sure that you have this comprehensive creative brief. Creative briefs are not just for concepts or TV or film, you know, briefs are very crucial in having a good partnership, starting that communication between your business partners. The plans that I can provide ahead of time, I will give it to her right away.
What do you both enjoy about getting to do such cultural work? Like you're not just staying in, because most people would say like, oh, you just stay in American culture because you're in California, but you're through all over the place.
So I'm Hawaiian Portuguese, right? And I just love other cultures, the flavors, how the layering of flavors and just the different cooking methods.
I was once tasked with bringing different cultures together and was asked, what do you think would be a good tool to bring into this company event? We've got Asians, we've got Europeans, we've got African Americans, and so I said, you know, there are two things that I always go by, Louise, when hosting an event, particularly internal company: food and music. These two things are common ground and can be relatable, whatever culture you are. Interestingly, I love to learn about different cultures, and I pass it on to my kids as well. Diversity is not just a thing on the news or on social media. needs to be
It's
lived.
everywhere, yeah. It's in
Yeah.
food,
Yeah,
it's
it
in
needs to be
music,
lived.
as you
Yes.
mentioned.
Yeah, so those are the things that I love about different cultures.
So we've talked about all the positive qualities that cultural planning can bring. What are some difficulties it can bring?
Oh,
Not to put you on the spot, but
yeah, it is a challenge sometimes because, like what I said, some have dietary restrictions. Cultures, especially if you're planning an event that involves food. There's also practices, religious beliefs that you have to be respectful of. There are some symbolisms and cues that are a no-no when you are hosting events with a mixed culture of attendees. So those are things that you have to pay attention to in my field.
There's the chopstick thing that you cannot put chopsticks
Yeah.
in a
On-
certain
in a- yeah.
in
Yes.
a dish a
That's
certain way.
disrespectful.
Well, it represents death. And so I had an incident where it was late night snack and my bride wanted fun. You
You're
know,
tired,
12 hours,
yeah.
everybody just wants to clean it up and go home, right? And so in their quickness, you know, in their efficiency,
Mindfulness, Dr. Swanson
Right,
always talks
right,
about that. Being
right.
in the present, even if you're tired, anxious,
exactly.
know your
have to
job
remain in
well.
the present, yeah.
Yeah. So, but you know, we fixed it, so it wasn't drastic. So that was good.
Good.
Yes, yeah.
So communicating with your staff prior is very important.
Yes.
Because every event, as we've been discussing, looks different.
Yeah, and good
depending
team
on the
members.
culture.
Right, and good team members too, so they can catch those little
Yeah.
mishaps, right?
You want to have a team of people who are willing
Reliable.
to adapt,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
reliable and willing to adapt to
Yeah.
the culture.
Especially in this industry because it moves fast.
Very interesting industry. But it seems like very fun for the both of you that you get to tap into different cultures in your role and you're not just stuck in one culture.
Right.
Yeah.
And the educational factor, I'm sure, is even better.
Right.
So this is how Hofstede's theory reminds us that communication isn't one size fits all. Cultural shapes not only what we say, but how we serve, share, and celebrate. So thank you so much to our guests, Annie and Mara, for joining us today. And remember, next time you attend or host an event, notice how culture speaks through food, space, and human connection.
Thank you, Louise.
Thank you so much for joining
having
us.
Very
Thank
interesting
you.
conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We
Oh,
should
thank
do this
you.
again.
Yes, we
And I
should.
look forward to the partnership.
Yes, definitely. You're our first guest.
Thank you. Thank